Yo, welcome to the dojo. We're here today to talk about the latest chapter of One Piece 1017, I believe it was. And we're just going to get right to the point. We'll dive into this deeper whenever the official translations comes out, but I'm going to do the best that I can right here. So, before I do that, I definitely need you guys to subscribe to the channel to help support all of that good stuff. So something will pop up somewhere around here. I need y'all to subscribe. Now, this chapter was good. There are a couple of things in here that I did not particularly care for, but there's pretty much three plot points surrounding the chapter. That was the bit with Tama, the bit with Tama, the gifters, and then the people on the live floor. Pretty much people on the live floor. Then you have the stuff with Queen and Sanji, and then the stuff with Who's Who and Jinbei. Now, what I want to specifically talk about first is with Tama and with the gifters, because I remember a couple of the chapters ago, whenever CP0, they had the shogi board. They're talking about how the numbers are uneven on both sides. They're overwhelmingly uneven, right? And so the thing that they said had to be the most important, what it was all going to come down to, was if the Straw Hats, if these pirates could take out the officers on Kaido's side. Now, what I liked about this Tama part and her influence on the gifters was that I personally don't think that the fodder matters at all. The fodder doesn't matter because they can't do anything to the strongest people. But they do matter in the sense if they're interrupting the battles. So every instance that we saw of the gifters turning was whenever we saw the fight, the one-on-one fights that were happening. So we see with Sasuke and Frankie, with Inu and Jack, and with Who's Who and Jinbei, that the reason why their fights are dragging so long, or why they seem so hard, is because all of their subordinates are getting involved in the fights. So essentially what Tama did was like, she took the subordinates of the officers out of the fights, and so now they're true one-on-one fights. And these fights will probably be wrapped up, within the next 10, 15 chapters. I don't really have a timeline for that. But I like this because it emphasized, again, what CP0 emphasized a couple of chapters ago. So I definitely like that part. Now, going on to the next, the Zoro and Chopper. Now, I had mixed feelings on this. I'm happy that my boy Zoro is back in there. I knew that he was going to get back in there. But this whole thing with Chopper, and this is the second time that this has happened. So I think a couple of chapters ago, maybe it was last chapter, Chopper had it was 2 chapters ago. Chopper had the flashback to when Caesar told him that he could help his Rumble Ball get better, and there would be, different side effects, blase, blase, blah. Now, my problem with that was it was just the writing. It wasn't Chopper getting a power-up. It was the fact and how it happened. It happened off-screen, and we don't even know when that happened. Did that happen on the way to Whole Cake Island? Did it happen from Whole Cake Island back to Wano? Did it happen? When did that happen? And I think that we could have seen more go into that. And I'm going to say that the same thing the same thing can be said of this moment right here, right? So if you go back to chapter 814, Zoro is commenting on the Minks and how fast that they are healing, okay? Now, I think that this is very interesting in the fact that Zoro was the one to mention how fast the Minks were healing, and now this super drug that the Minks have is being used on Zoro. Now, if the Minks were using the super drug back then I'm just going to say that Oda did a poor job depicting that, right? Now, if something happens later on in the arc where Zoro does use the drug, and let's say that, because I know another thing that people were thinking about is, okay, when is the double pain gonna affect Zoro? I think it's gonna actually happen during the fight, and Zoro's just gonna muscle through it. He's gonna will himself through it. Now, if one of the Minks were to say, oh, he's being affected by it, but what overwhelming strength to be able to power through that. If they say something along the lines of that, then I'll say, okay, cool. Then I guess Zoro was alluding to that back in chapter 814. But if no one says anything, if there's like no further explanation of this or exposition, then I'm just gonna be like, it's just a sensu bean at the end of the day. But I like this because now we speculate. Now it's back to speculating, who is Zoro gonna fight? Is Zoro gonna go back to join the fight with Kaido, or is Zoro gonna fight King? Is Zoro just gonna be on fodder control? Write it down in the comment section below. What do you think Zoro is gonna do? And now on to the most interesting part of the chapter, was definitely the who's who part with Jinbei, and not just the part about the Gomu Gomu no Mi, right? Not just that part. Seeing who's who fight, and I'm gonna go on a limb and say this. Out of all the fights that are happening in the dome, this fight with who's who and Jinbei is gonna have the best choreography. Maybe aside from Sanji and Queen's fight, because I just love Sanji's aesthetic. I love Sanji's fighting style. But Rukishiki style is definitely the most pleasing fighting style to see in One Piece. I think by a long shot, the most pleasing fighting style to see. So, seeing all of these different variations of the six powers that who's who has at his disposal and how he's using them with Jinbei is dope, and it makes me just sad because that could be Sanji. Sanji could be having his own little variations to the six powers and so on and so forth. Maybe, I don't know. We all talked about this, the Flame and Tempest kicks. That would be nice. I mean, damn. But anyways, so what who's who is essentially saying is that, yo, I was a former member of CP9 or of CP9, and I was guarding that fruit, and it pains me every day to hear the fact that this kid has that fruit. This kid actually ate that fruit that sent me down, this path of demise. So who's who kind of has a beef with Jinbei, but he kind of doesn't. He just has a beef with all of the Straw Hats because, y'all's captain ate the fruit that I got in trouble for losing or got in trouble for whatever the circumstances were that happened. Who's who lost the damn fruit? I don't know if Lucky Roo stole it. I don't know if Shanks stole it. I don't know if another pirate crew stole it, and then Shanks and Lucky Roo stole it from that pirate crew. Whatever the case may be. Who's who lost the fruit? And now Luffy has the fruit. Okay? So hopefully we get more information about this. And I'm just going to say here briefly that if the fruit was in the world government's hands, right? And who's who got in this much trouble for having it or for losing it, then why hasn't anybody mentioned like Luffy having the gum fruit? What, the Gomu Gomu no fruit? Why hasn't anyone mentioned that? Why hasn't anyone said anything about it? Okay? And then one last thing, and this is what I'm gonna leave you guys with. Like I said, this was straight to the point. I just wanted to hurry up and get this out. I think that the gum fruit is actually a special type of fruit. I do think that it is it could be an interesting fruit, right? Now, I think that whenever Luffy finds out the full capability of it is whenever he awakens it. Now, whenever we were introduced to Katakuri and whenever his fruit was retconned from a Logia to a special paramecia, that always got me thinking okay, well, maybe Luffy's fruit could be this, because Katakuri was able to produce mochi and he is mochi at the same time. Dofi is able to produce strings, but he is not strings at the same time. Whitebeard is able to produce earthquakes, but he is not earthquakes at the same time. So on and so forth, so on and so forth. Insert Luffy. Luffy is rubber, And maybe he will be able to produce rubber going forward, right? And we've already kind of seen like little hints of this, like whenever Luffy makes 6 arms, whenever he does the Kong organ. I essentially think that Luffy acquiring an awakening is going to give him more properties over the rubber fruit, over the gum fruit. So he's going to be able to liquefy. He's going to be able to do things that Gear 4th enables him to do, but in his base, I believe, or just naturally. And maybe it'll be like in a reverse gear or something like that. That'll be his awakening. I don't know how that's like, I really don't know how that's going to happen. But Luffy will discover that his fruit is a special paramecia once he awakens it. So let me know if I missed anything down in the comment section below. Anything that you guys want to talk about. Once again, I just wanted to get this out. Just a brief discussion talking about the chapter. I may stream later on today on Mugiwara Mat B. So just be looking out for that. And I appreciate all of you guys with the support. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I hope you guys have an awesome fucking day. Peace out.